you guys, everything you allow into your life is you teaching your brain and training your brain. Green light, green light, green light. Okay, you are training your brain to say, yes, this is acceptable behavior that we allow in our lives. So, and that also goes for a lot of your friends. You will probably end up having a relationship that's similar to all of your friends' relationships. And that's why you have to be very careful of which friends you keep around and watching how they date, because if your friend is okay dating a guy who's obviously very disrespectful to her, but she's allowing it, there's some part in your brain that is saying, oh, okay, my friend who I love and who I respect and respect her choices is saying green light to that guy. And it is teaching your brain that's also a green light. And the more and more that keeps reaffirming, the stronger that circuit becomes in your brain. And suddenly, through 6 months ago, this guy was an absolute jerk. And now, 6 months later, he's still a jerk, but you are a little more okay with it. You are a little more understanding of his behavior. You are a little more understanding of why your friend wants to keep a jerk like that around. Okay, so it's very, very important that you realize every single day you are practicing who you are going to become when you're older. Your future, this future glamorous version that you have of yourself, you are being her today. And the more that you engage with the non-ideal version of yourself, the non-ideal version of yourself is okay entertaining guys like that. The non-ideal version of yourself is okay entertaining friends like that, entertaining a career that isn't what you really, really love. The pill becomes easier and easier to swallow. Your brain allows it to become a little more normal, and suddenly it's your life. So when I tell you that there is no such thing as in the meantime, boyfriend, in the meantime, whatever, girlfriend, partner, in the meantime, friends, in the meantime, situation, you are being who you're going to become in the future. And you are training your brain to distinguish what is allowed in your life and what is not. For me, there is no difference between a 3 out of 10 guy versus a 7 out of 10 guy in terms of personality. I'm not speaking about his physical appearance. In terms of who this guy is as a whole, looks and emotional maturity and financial maturity, all this stuff, I am looking at that, and there is no difference to me between a 2 out of 10 guy and a 7 out of 10 guy, because anything less than a 10 out of 10, no access allowed, no access. But there are a lot of girls who will meet an 8 out of 10, a 9 out of 10, and they say, okay, I know he's not my dream guy, but I'm lonely, I'm desperate, I'm horny, like let me just entertain this until I meet my future husband. And this is also a very, very common practice among men. I think more so among men than among girls. I think more guys have the in the meantime girlfriend than girls have the in the meantime boyfriend. But either ways, for friends, for partners, you want to make sure that this behavior it's either a red light or a green light. It's either hell yes or hell no. It's not, okay, this isn't great, but it's not a 4 out of 10, so we'll allow it in our lives. It's not optimal, but it's manageable. I can swallow the pill and trudge myself through a 7 out of 10 relationship. And then one day, years later, you wake up and it is your life. You look around, you have 7 out of 10 friendships. You look around, you've got 7 out of 10 relationships. You look around, you've got a 7 out of 10 career. okay? Because you have trained your brain to make that a little easier and easier. And the longer you entertain it, the easier it gets. There are a lot of girls who romanticize a toxic relationship that ended badly, and they're like, it didn't work out, but he was such a nice guy. Like, they still look back at that experience as romance instead of the actual mistreatment that it was. The guy who mistreated you, you are still able to look at it through the lens of romance and still back at it and say, yeah, we did have some fun times. No, call a spade a spade. When you engage in those behaviors where you have allowed less than 10 out of 10, you have some retraining to do for your brain. Your brain got stupider from that experience, and you need to make sure it's up to par, or you will keep repeating that behavior over and over again. When you look back at a situation that was mistreatment, but you still have a little bit of romance in it, when you look back at it fondly, that is going to carry itself into your present and in your future. So when you have a situation that was very obviously bad, but you can still feel like your heart's connected to it, take out your little notes app on your phone or write. I always think pencil and paper is better than notes because it engages more of your brain when you're actually writing it out, but no one wants to write anymore. So take out your notes phone, write down all the very obvious signs of mistreatment and whatever, emotional manipulation. I'm sure, like teenage years, the stories I've heard, okay, been there, done that. Trust me. Anyways, you want to make sure that you don't have any romantic feelings towards that situation. Because if you do, that means you are still able to view those behaviors as romance, and they will manifest in the present and they will manifest in the future. So you need to be able to look at that kind of situation and be like, that was wrong. That is a very strong red light, brain. That was a strong red light. We do not deem that as yellow light. We do not deem that as green light. Okay, there's no such thing as yellow light. Just red light and green light. Okay, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. Or else you're going to end up with a 7 out of 10 life. We don't want that. Yeah. So, okay, you should not feel any romance, any love, any connection to something that was very obviously wrong for you. And it doesn't have to be, because you were like, it was mistreatment or anything like that. It could just be, I entertained someone who was very obviously not a right fit for me. I entertained someone who obviously couldn't meet my needs, but I still feel attached to someone who couldn't meet my needs. That's a dangerous observation. Make sure you flag that and say, no, that was unacceptable. You entertained someone who wasn't as romantic as you would like him to be. That is a red light. If you catch yourself feeling romantic, missing feelings about that someone, say, no, that was obviously someone who was not a natural fit for me, and they never would have been a natural fit for me. That is a red light, brain. Don't feel love towards that kind of situation. Okay? Stop romancing all these past situations that were very obviously wrong, but because you stuck around long enough, you have these emotional feelings attached to very obvious misaligned relationships, very obvious. You couldn't meet your standards, very obvious. Emotional manipulation, whatever, all these things, deem them as a red light, because if you can tie romance to those kind of bad situations, you will still be able to tie, looking back, you will still be able to tie romance to that kind of thing in your present and in your future. So you need to be able to look back at your past and say, no, that was wrong, and there's nothing romantic about it. Don't romanticize these very obviously bad situations because you have all this creative energy, okay? A lot of women are very creative. That's good. Channel it into your craft. Do not channel it by coming up with all these delusions of what that relationship was and how it actually was so special and romantic. No. Call a spade, okay? I get that you're very creative. Make sure it's going into the right area. Your relationship, you should see it for the reality that it is. There's a lot of women who are like, oh, he's so funny, he's so this, he's so that. Are you just really funny when you're with him? Like, are you just laughing all the time because you're just someone who's really happy and he's not actually that funny? Analyze the reality of a relationship, of your past relationships, of whoever you're dating. Make sure you are being able to see the reality of it, okay? Make sure your creative energies, your little delusions of who this man is, are limited. Whatever, men and women, sorry, I always don't know who my audience is. This delusion of what your partner is, make sure you are able to see the reality of what they are. Okay? Usually also right away, and you have to force yourself into that bad thing, and it becomes easier and easier. So if you're touching a hot stove, it burns at first. Soon your hand becomes numb. But in the beginning, you had to force yourself. It took an act of force to keep your hand on that stove, because at first your sensors were very sensitive. You could tell right away when you were touching something hot. Now your whole hand is burnt and you can't even tell if you're touching something hot or cold. Okay, that's what a lot of people do. So when something doesn't feel right, when it's not a hell yes, don't try to push more into it, because all you'll do is end up burning your hand and not even being able to tell whenever you're touching a stove. You really have to excuse yourself and take some time to heal. If you feel like you just came out of a situation where your hand was on the stove the whole time, and until some, friends had an intervention with you, or you really took some time to yourself, you realized, oh wait, I'm subjecting myself to something that I don't actually like. But it was really hard for you to do it in the beginning. It's always really hard in the beginning to force yourself into things that you don't really actually feel good. All the signs are there. You're just choosing to ignore them. Your gut is telling you don't like it. Your friends are a little iffy about it. You're a little iffy about it too. All the signs are always there. You're just choosing to ignore them, and you're having to use the sense of force to stay. But that's why I always say, don't use force and willpower when it comes to love. I think in general, but at least for the purposes of this video, especially with love, it should feel like the most natural thing in the world, and you just feel like you have to push and go outside of yourself and use these dating apps and make the first move and do this and do that. You just have to do inner work, and all these random places guys will start coming up to you. I haven't been to a bar in months, maybe oh wait, no, that's not true. Restaurants, I guess, but I haven't been I don't go out ever seeking. The worst place to find a boyfriend is to find a partner is a singles bar, okay? Because those are people who are very obviously single and are in that kind of desperation energy. You want to find people who are natural to you. So you'll probably find them at your whatever, where your favorite place to hike. You'll probably meet them while you're already doing your favorite things. If you don't like to party, but you force yourself to party to meet people, you're not going to meet someone who's a natural fit for you. You want to meet someone in what you do naturally throughout your day. You'll find that person aligns with your hobbies, they align with your mindset, they align with your values. So don't go outside of yourself to make something work. One guy I met at a sandwich shop, in the randomest places. I never am seeking out a guy, but the second I am in a mentality where I'm seeking a partner out is when it never happens. It never happens. So I have found whenever I'm just relaxed into myself, genuinely, because there are some people who are just I'm not looking, I'm relaxed. You actually genuinely have to be relaxed and content with your life, and then those guys start showing up. But if you're fake relaxed, The universe knows, okay? People know. Energy knows. I hope you realize that if you settle today, you will end up creating a future of settling. So if there are any friendships in your life that you feel like are a friendship where you're kind of settling, if you have any relationships where you feel like you're kind of settling, if you have careers, if you have anywhere where your time is going throughout your day, where it feels like you're just settling, you're going outside of yourself, you're forcing yourself to engage with that activity, to engage with that person, then immediately remove them, because that will just perpetuate into your future, and you're teaching your mind, you're wiring your mind to make that feel more and more and more okay. And one day your whole life is a giant thing of settling, and it doesn't even feel that hard. It feels like, oh, okay. But inside, you're just like, this isn't the life that I dreamed of, you know? You have to act today to get the life you dream of. You can't act. Like when I'm 30, I'm going to start acting like the girl I dream of. Today, you have to act like that, because the longer you engage in these behaviors, the longer it's going to take to unlearn them. And it's a process. It's a process to look back at those past situations and say, that was not romantic. That was a bad match. That was emotional manipulation. That was not a good fit. That wasn't romantic. Call a spade a spade. Okay, love you. Hey, that's all I have for you. Love you, love you, love you.